Hello everyone, Lynn Dalmastro Thompson with Heartfire Healing, and today I'm really excited to talk to you about a topic that feels very powerful and important to me. And this is all about the danger of wanting someone to fix us. So I want to share a little backstory of kind of where this topic got sparked for me a few months ago, and that is with somebody who was a newer client in my business. And after seeing me a couple times, and I typically am a practitioner who likes to give people homework and make suggestions of things that people can do for themselves, she came back, I think it was session 3, and she said, you know, I'm really busy and I'm never going to really have time to do the homework. And mind you, the homework that I give people is not hours and hours of homework. It's usually short things to do each day. And she said, I would just rather lay on your table and have you fix me. And as she said that, some alarm bells went off in my head. And I want to share in today's live a little bit more about why that sets off alarm bells and why this is something that we all should be watching out for in our own thought process. So to those who are joining me live, feel free to say hi. Let me know who's here. If you're watching the replay, let me know that as well. Hello, Jessica. Good to see you. It's been a while since I've seen you on one of the lives, so it's nice to see you here. So let's dive into this topic of wanting someone to fix us. And I want to share kind of 4 things. I was writing about this morning and kind of teasing this out for my own thought process and to share with you what comes to mind when someone says that they want me to fix them, or when you say to someone, I want you to fix me. So the first thing that came to mind is that we are giving up power to someone else. We're putting them on a pedestal and we're seeing them as an expert in our lives. And so we're saying their knowledge is better than ours, and we're saying, you know, they should fix us. We're giving up our own advocacy. The second piece of this, and I think this is a belief system that I see going hand in hand with this idea that someone, you know, we want someone to fix us, is that we see ourselves as broken. Because if we need to be fixed, right, we're broken. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that mindset here in today's video of, you know, we're not really broken. And then the third thing that came up is thinking about how this really puts us in a passive role. We're not playing an active role in our own healing when we're saying, I want someone to fix me. We're just kind of saying, hey, I just kind of want to lay here and give up my own power and advocacy, and I'm going to be passive in this process, which really is not going to be in your best interest. And Jessica, you're saying, yeah, that too. You've been guilty of the pedestal thing. I think we all have, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that pedestal thing. And then the third thing is that we see ourselves, and this is the second belief that I think really goes hand in hand with this fix us mentality, is that we see ourselves as a victim in the situation, right? Because if you want someone to fix us and you're broken, then you're kind of seeing yourself in that victim mode. And again, none of this is to shame or blame anyone. If you've had these thoughts, like I probably have had them too at different points in the process. So it's really with awareness that we can start to make some changes. So what if instead you could start to see yourself as an expert in the process? You could realize that you're not broken, that you're not a victim of the situation, and that you can be empowered to be proactive in the process. And so I'm calling you out, yes. Yeah, and sometimes we need to be called out, and I like to do it with love and not judgment, because judgment is not helpful, right? So all of these things probably show up for us in different ways, and awareness is what brings it to the surface and helps us shift it. So let's talk a little bit about what would need to change for each of these things that goes into this feeling of wanting someone to fix us. What are kind of some of the mindset pieces that need to shift, and what are some of the skill set things that what would we need to actively do to shift out of this? So if we're putting someone on a pedestal and we're saying they're the expert and they know better than we do, what do we need to shift in order to make that change? Well, we need to start stop putting that person on a pedestal. And I think this is very conditioned in kind of the medical system, right? We put a doctor on a pedestal. I've written about this several times because it's such a powerful thing to talk about. Is we put a doctor on a pedestal. We think he's the expert because he has an MD after his name and he has the stethoscope and the white coat, and we discount our own expertise and knowledge of our bodies, whether that's just the lived experience of being in your body, or whether that is you actually doing some of your own homework and research and learning different things. That has value too. So don't start putting someone on a pedestal. Start seeing yourself as the expert of your own body. And then part of that, then if we see ourselves as the expert, how are we going to act? What do we need to do to implement being an expert? Well, I think one of the things is continuing to educate yourself, like researching things, researching your options. Don't just take things at face value, whether a doctor says it, or we can even put other practitioners on a pedestal. I didn't mention that before, but that comes to mind as well. I think it's more common in the medical industry, but I sometimes see people do that with other practitioners. And I don't want anybody putting me, or I try not to put other practitioners on a pedestal either, because they're still human beings. And when we put someone on a pedestal, they're like above us, and we see them as like better than us, or we discount our own experience. So in order to step out of that, seeing someone else as the expert, putting them on a pedestal, we have to educate ourselves, and we also have to speak up. We have to take an active role in the process and say, you know, this is what I want, this is not what I want, this is the kind of care that's acceptable for me, you're not listening to me, like I need you to listen to me, or I'm going to find a different practitioner or doctor. Like, all of those things are really empowering because they're making us our own advocate in this situation. So then coming back to that second piece, which I pointed to, that when we want someone to fix us, that means we see ourselves as broken. But what if you could instead see that your body isn't really broken? Like, none of us are broken. It can feel like we're broken, and I've felt broken at times. I've felt like my body has failed and let me down. So, you know, those are common things. But ultimately, coming into the belief that your body ultimately wants to heal. And this is one of the things I always say over and over and over again. Your body doesn't want to be sick. Your body doesn't want you to struggle. Your body wants to heal. It's just, it doesn't necessarily have that condition all the time that it can do its healing work. So the mindset piece here that we really need is just to see that we're not broken and our body is doing the best it can to heal, and believing that, not just paying lip service, but doing some work to really believe that for ourselves on a daily basis, that our body is doing the best it can. And our bodies are amazing at healing, even though sometimes it doesn't, again, feel like it. When we feel really sick, it can, again, be easy to say, well, yeah, maybe that's so-and-so's body. Like, your body does a good job of healing. My body's not doing such a good job. But the belief system is part of then what predicts that success. And then we also want to give the body the resources that it needs to heal, because without those resources, then the healing really isn't possible for the body. So you can believe those things, that the body can heal, but if you're also not laying the groundwork and giving the body all of the tools and the resources, the nutrition that it needs, the supports that it needs from maybe practitioners and different things you do on a daily basis, it's hard for the body to heal. So we have to take an active role in that and start supporting our bodies in healing. And then the other piece that I mentioned again is that feeling of, you know, we're taking a passive role in the process. So this was one thing that really felt present with that client that I shared the story of in the beginning, when she said, I just want someone to fix me. And that was like, she just wanted to be passive. She wanted to lay on the table and have me do all of the work. And that's not really how healing happens. Healing is an inside job, and I don't really fix anyone. I don't really heal anyone. I support them in the process, and I support their bodies. But when someone says to me, I want you to fix me, then they're taking themselves out of that equation, and they're just wanting to be passive in that process that you really can't be passive in. So instead, it's really about that mindset of being in charge. Like, I am the one that makes the choices about what's going to happen, who I'm going to see, what treatments I'm going to do, and I'm going to be active in that process. And if someone suggests something as homework, I'm going to do it because I know it's an important part of that process. It's not just, there because someone feels like I should be doing something at home. It's actually there to support the process and to have you be play an active role in your healing. So you said, Jessica, I EFT tapped for almost 30 minutes straight to work on those beliefs this weekend. Yeah, you had to really get in alignment or realigned. Beautiful. So knowing that you're doing your own, you were doing your work, right? You didn't just expect somebody to fix those beliefs for you. You actually actively worked on those beliefs, which is totally powerful and beautiful to do. And if we're being proactive, we're choosing who we want to be on our team. So you're choosing your doctors, your practitioners, you're choosing what kinds of treatments you want. You're doing your research. So a client of mine who's had great success has been super proactive through the whole process. She chose to go see a naturopath, and I hadn't even suggested that because she was listening to her own inner knowing and wisdom that would benefit her. And so it's not always on some expert to tell you where to go or what to do. Yes, experts can help you and guide the way, but you also have an inner guidance system, and you are that expert. So if you feel like something would benefit you and help you, totally do that. Like, follow that and be proactive. Take steps and do things. Don't just want somebody to do the heavy work for you. Yes, it would be so much easier, right, if somebody could just do all the heavy lifting for you. But it's like with exercise, like say you want to build muscles and you want your arms to get stronger. You can't send someone to the gym to lift weights for you and expect your arms to get toned, right? That's not going to work. So same thing here, like you can't expect somebody to just magically do the work for you and fix you and everything shifts and you do all the benefit. Like, you have to play a role in it. And lastly, let's talk more about this victim mentality that goes hand in hand with wanting someone to fix us, right? So if we're seeing ourselves as a victim, we're seeing ourselves as disempowered, we're seeing ourselves as broken, things happen to us. But you're not a victim. And one of the biggest gifts for me in understanding why I got sick was realizing that it wasn't happening to me. It did happen for me. And it happened for me in the sense of putting my life on a different path. Like, I was completely following a path that didn't serve me, and I was miserable, and yet I refused to listen to that part of me that knew I was on the wrong path. And so my body had to resort to making me sick and giving me what I call the cosmic 2x4 to the side of the head to wake me up. And it happened for me. Now, I remember feeling like a victim in the beginning. How did I get this diagnosis? Like, how did I just wind up with leukemia? Here I am, 25, taken reasonably good care of myself. I didn't really drink. I ate relatively healthily, like not extremely healthily. I exercised. And at first it was like, how did this happen to me? Like, why me? Which is very much a victim thing. But as I came through that and I realized that there was an upside to it, and that's not to say, that you wish for these things to happen, but when you can step beyond that, from that place of seeing it as just like something happened to me and I'm a victim of it, to how is this actually serving me in my life? It's super powerful to make that shift and to realize with your mindset that is a key ingredient. If you see yourself as a victim of it, it's much harder to heal. If you are in victim mode, you're not going to be proactive. You're not going to take steps, and you're also going to have a lot of beliefs about what is and isn't possible for your healing. So coming to understand with the right tools and the right skill set, what is the meaning and what is the silver lining and what should you be learning from what you just experienced or what you're currently experiencing. That's a huge way to shift out of victim mentality, is trying to understand with help from someone or just digging into it on your own. Like, what is the meaning of this? So Jessica says, I want them to fix me, but I know I need to do the work. Yeah. Yep. So, all of these pieces are just really crucial ingredients. So to kind of sum up where we've been in this process of examining wanting someone to fix us and how that really doesn't serve us in a healing journey, because it is the opposite. If you're only coming from that place of wanting someone to fix you, and ultimately with that person who said that to me, I knew it wasn't aligned to work with me, because if she wouldn't even do 2 minutes of homework a day, like, that told me that she was not willing to play an active role in her own healing. And that's not the kind of person that ideally aligns for me to support, because I want people to have success. And just saying, I want you to fix me, that doesn't really work. So first, we need to release all of those beliefs and those identities and that I'm a victim, that I'm broken, all of those things. We need to get rid of those. That's the first step in this process. We need to educate ourselves on our different choices, modalities, treatments, like whatever it is, like read up on things. I'm always impressed when people say, that I've researched different things. I've read articles. Like, don't just take everything at face value, because again, that's putting someone else in the expert spot and saying, I couldn't possibly make a decision. I couldn't possibly know what to do here. And then support your body by making the right choices for it. Like, give it the resources. This comes back to, the body, we see ourselves as broken, but really the body wants to heal. So you just have to lay the groundwork for it. And then own your own authority and your own expertise and your own power in this process. Look for someone who wants to be a partner. If you're looking for support, look for someone who wants to be a partner with you, not someone who wants you to just subscribe to everything they say. Like, it is a process. And that's what I found in working with clients, is I am not some expert on a pedestal saying you need to do X, Y, and Z. I'm partnering with someone, and I want them to own their own power in the process and own that part of the journey. So Jody, you said, I'm not looking to be fixed, but I'd like help. Yeah. And that's a totally different mindset, right? So fixed is wanting someone to fix you, is just wanting someone to come in from the outside. And the image that just popped in my head is like wanting a superhero to swoop in on a cape and rescue you from the situation. Because I think that fix us and rescue kind of also, there's a similarity there, right? And that A, is not very realistic, and B, it's not very empowering to you. But if you want help from someone to feel better, like, yes, there are people like me who have gone through this journey and are further down the path. And so we can kind of walk with you and act as a partner. And so I see myself, when I work with clients, much more as a guide and a way shower than some expert, because that's disempowering to the client. And it's also ego inflating for me as a practitioner. I am just a partner, a guide, and I help people in the process. But healing is really, it's an inside job. It's not somebody fixing you. It's not a magic wand coming out of nowhere and just poop, boop, you're all better. You have to dig in and you have to do the work. And if you're not willing to do the work, then it's not going to be nearly successful. So if you're looking for someone to help you feel better and you're willing to do the work, then you're going to have a lot more success than if you're just saying, I just want to lay here, be passive, and just you do your thing, and I'm going to keep going back into the life that I live. And yeah, that kind of sums up that piece, that particular client. She didn't want to do the homework. She couldn't make time in her life. But I've seen that with other people over the years that I've worked with, I've given lifestyle suggestions, I've given recommendations of things that need to be explored in the light of, what are you doing in your daily life? Like, what's your relationship like? And how does it add to this problem sometimes? Or, I'm just pulling examples here. And if somebody will not go back and explore all the factors that contribute to that, it's, again, hard to make change, because this is really a journey, and we have to explore what feeds into it, what is in contributing factors to the struggle that we're having and the challenges that we're having. And the more we really dig into that, the more we dig in to what contributes to this and exploring that. And instead of just expecting someone to magically come in, that's where the healing happens. When we get curious and when we start exploring the deeper meanings of things, and when we explore the roots. And I'm all about getting to things at the root rather than putting band-aids on. And band-aids don't really work, but when we get to the root, again, it works on a different level, but it requires work on both sides, as a practitioner, but also the client to play an active role as well. So I hope this was a helpful message for all of you today. If you got something that was a great takeaway, I'd love to hear in the comments, or you can share in a message if that feels a little too vulnerable to post in the comments. And if you know somebody who might need to hear this message, I would love if you share the video with them as well. There's always people out there who need to hear these sorts of messages, and it's helpful to me if you share something that resonated with you and that benefited you. So Jody, you're saying she wouldn't make the time. Yeah, it's a matter of priorities. I'm guilty, but reaching the end of my rope, always being sick. Yep, no Band-Aids. Yep, and if you can't make your health a priority, then what are you doing coming and seeing me? Like, if you're not willing to make some changes in your life, that 1 hour that people see me every couple of weeks, it can be a powerful thing, but you're living your life 24/7. And if you don't explore that, and if you can't make 5 minutes a day to do some simple things for yourself, it's not really serving you, and it's very frustrating to watch someone say those sorts of things. So thank you for sharing that, Jody. All right, well, I'm going to wrap up here for today. If you watch the replay, feel free to share your thoughts as well, your comments, and I will be responding to your comments throughout the day if you leave them and it's not while I'm live. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and I, again, would love to hear your takeaway if you're willing to share it. All right, bye for now.